After that, a similar pattern repeated itself. When Isidore discovered a trap, Roderick broke it and moved forward. The problem was that they were causing quite a stir. What lowly person dares to come here without fear? Suki and Isidore, whom they had been searching for, finally appeared before them. Contrary to his boastful speech, his appearance was anything but pleasant. Even in broad daylight, the noise they made seemed to have woken her from a deep sleep. Her black hair was tangled and matted, with no memory of when it had last been cut, and her eyes were swollen and covered in tear ducts, making her look incredibly dirty. Suki and Isidore? Roderick called her name in a harsh voice. The scorpion tattoo on his left cheek gave away his identity, but he wanted to be sure. How do you, a simple culprit, know the name of this body? When a stranger mentioned her name, Suki asked with a slightly puzzled look on her face. It seems I'm right. You should come with us. I recommend that you do not resist unnecessarily. A gleam shone in Roderick's blue eyes. It was a look that could scare anyone except a man of considerable stature. Why should I do that? But alas, Suki was one of those pretty cowardly people. It is not right to reject those who came here voluntarily to be subjects of my experiments. Are we getting a little out of control? He smiled furiously, and instantly unleashed a black flame from his hand and threw it at him. Roderick skillfully dodged the flame and shouted at Isidore, "Brother-in-law, please hide in a safe place." "I'm already hiding. Be careful." Isidore, who had suddenly hidden behind the wall, responded by showing only his eyes. Roderick smiled wryly at the sight. "Do you think they're going to hit me?" "No, I'm not saying you should be careful. I say take it easy. Remember to capture her alive." Isidore, who had insisted on going with them a while ago, saying that he could not leave his sister a widow, now seemed calm after seeing Roderick's power with his own eyes. "Should I take this as a sign of trust?" Roderick laughed bitterly and jumped towards Suki. "I guess it's pretty strong?" When the fireworks he launched only burned his precious treasure, Suki hesitated and backed away, looking somewhat embarrassed. For a moment, he chuckled and attacked Roderick using all kinds of strange magic. "Of course, compared to this big body, you are nothing more than a human being." He tried to drop a green acidic liquid from the ceiling that melted flesh to the touch, and he also tried to catch it by summoning sticky, pitch-black vines from the ground, but unfortunately, his attacks always failed. Although it was a highly acidic liquid capable of melting even metal, it could not melt Roderick's sword, which was covered in black energy, and no matter how resistant the vines were, they fell helplessly before his sword. Dodging the barrage of attacks, he arrived in front of Suki in an instant and placed the sword with a blue glow on her neck. Then she opened her mouth in a very embarrassed voice. "What the hell are you doing? How dare you?" "I'll say it again. You have to come with us. There won't be a third time." Roderick brought his sword a little closer to his neck and spat harshly. "Yeah. I don't know what your purpose is, but I will make it a special occasion to accompany you." Faced with his aura, which threatened to cut her neck at any moment, Suki surrendered, seemingly helpless. Even if she was a little crazy, her life was beautiful. "Of course, even if I was scared, I couldn't give up my deception." As soon as surrender was declared, Isidore, who had been hiding behind the wall, began to advance towards Roderick and Suki, passing the pitch-black flames and the eerie green smoking puddles. After walking stealthily, Isidore reached her side, took a metal bracelet from his pocket and put it on her wrist. "What is this? What are you doing to me without my permission?" "It's a magical restriction. Don't even think about doing anything stupid." The moment the bracelet was placed on his arm, the black flames burning around him suddenly calmed down, as if by magic. The spell had been broken. Suki, with a look of wounded pride at Isidore's words, desperately tried to free herself from the magical bracelet binding her wrist, but the bracelet stuck to her as if it had become one with her body and would not come off. Cowards. It was already unfair that she was trapped in the mountains, living alone and peacefully, and then dragged away without even knowing what was happening, but now her magic is also being restricted. Of course, with all the karma accumulated, it was not expected that something like this would happen one day. That was why he had set so many magical traps. She never thought she would be caught so easily. Then go. Just as Roderick was about to leave, he threatened her with a fierce glare. Hey, wait a minute. We can't continue like this. The normally quiet Suki suddenly gained strength and stood her ground. That? I have a cat. Let him come with me. He is my only friend. Roderick was about to get a little angry at seeing his precious daughter cursed and his cat pampered and cared for, but he nodded in understanding. The cat had simply had the wrong owner, it wasn't my fault. Suki sighed and went upstairs. Of course, she wasn't alone. She was accompanied by 2 men who followed her tenaciously. Isidore, always suspicious, glared at her. He couldn't help but suspect that the cat was just an excuse, that she was up to something. But their worries soon turned out to be wrong. Pumpkin. Pumpkin, come here. As Suki called out what she assumed was the cat's name, a plump, yellow, striped cat appeared, meowing, and twirling between her legs. It really was a cat. Isidore, who for a moment doubted the cat's existence, seemed slightly disappointed. It's done, let's go. I don't know where you're taking this. Body. Suki put the cat in a wicker cage, picked it up and spoke. He was surprisingly docile, considering how rebellious he had been, giving off magic. After leaving the building, Isidore had to use a magic scroll to erase the traces that his brother-in-law had left on the outer walls when destroying the magic trap. He had checked several times to make sure no one was there, but if Byron's people stopped by frequently to check on Suki, shouldn't it be as if nothing had happened? Restoring the broken outer wall would have been too laborious, so as a temporary measure, they had to use illusion magic to make it appear intact from the outside. And Suki was horrified to see that. His pride was hurt, so he didn't show it. He didn't understand how the traps and outer walls of the building he had placed could be destroyed like that. After boarding the carriage waiting at the foot of the mountain, Suki finally looked up at the 2 pairs of piercing eyes watching her and asked, "Now, tell me the details. I have the right to know where you are taking me and why, right?" It wasn't that there weren't any clues, but there were so many that she couldn't understand why they were dragging her there. It wasn't just 1 or 2 things he had done. Of course, since being expelled from the academy, Suki Isidore had led a fairly quiet life, at least by her standards. She had only been involved in minor misdeeds, such as stealing cattle from a nearby village and performing vivisections. It was no longer possible to experiment with curses and witchcraft on humans as before. After the suffering caused by human experimentation, it was impossible to dare to do so. You must have cursed a young girl. Oh, except for once. Roderick's question brought back memories from more than 10 years ago. Suki closed her eyes and remembered. It was a time when his body, now sore here and there, was still young and vibrant. Even then, someone had invaded their precious nest. They had overcome the traps she had set, and were now asking him to curse a little girl who looked like she was only 2 or 3 years old. It was a very attractive offer for Suki, who had been unable to conduct experiments on humans, not because of moral obstacles, but simply because of practical difficulties. It was the first time in his life that he had received a request. Furthermore, it was a difficult spell. It did not activate immediately when cast, but was delayed until someone activated it. While these types of curses were not uncommon, they were usually activated by the caster. However, what they wanted was for a man without any magical power to be able to cast the active spell. As a researcher, Wasn't it natural to become more enthusiastic as the problem became more difficult? Suki, who remembered some very happy memories, tilted her head and asked the men, yes, that happened too. Was it because of that? Did the girl die or something?